October 24, 1944. 8:30 a.m. Commander David McCampbell scans the horizon from his Grumman F-6F Hellcat, cruising at 12,000 feet above the Philippine Sea. His radio crackles with a transmission that makes his blood freeze. American radar has detected something unprecedented. A massive Japanese air armada, 60 aircraft, bombers and fighters, streaming toward the vulnerable American fleet during the Battle of Light Gulf. McCampbell has exactly 7 planes with him. 7 against 60. The math is suicide. But McCampbell pushes his throttle forward and begins to climb. What happens over the next 90 minutes will become the single greatest solo aerial victory in United States Navy history. A victory built on a technique his fellow pilots had laughed at for months. They called it the Caveman Dive. The criticism had started back at Naval Air Station Melbourne in early 1944, when McCampbell first took command of Air Group 15 aboard the USS Essex. Unlike most fighter pilots who practiced elaborate dogfighting maneuvers, McCampbell drilled his men on a brutally simple tactic. Climb high, wait, then dive straight down with the sun behind you, guns blazing, using gravity as your greatest weapon. Other squadron leaders mocked the approach. It lacked finesse, they said. It was something a prehistoric hunter would do. Point and charge. Where was the artistry? Where was the skill? McCampbell ignored them. He had studied Japanese tactics obsessively. He knew their Zero fighters could outturn any American plane in a horizontal fight. But in a dive, the heavier Hellcat was untouchable. Speed was survival. Altitude was ammunition. The critics would understand eventually, or they would stay dead. The morning of October 24th tested everything McCampbell believed. As his small formation climbed toward 24,000 feet, the Japanese armada came into full view. The enemy planes stretched across the sky like a swarm of locusts. Mitsubishi Zeros, Nakajima torpedo bombers, all heading toward the American carriers with enough ordnance to change the course of the Pacific War. McCampbell keyed his radio. His voice was steady, almost casual. His wingman, Lieutenant Roy Rushing, pulled alongside. The 2 men exchanged a look through their canopies. They understood what they had to do: draw the fighters away, buy time, and somehow survive. What the Japanese pilots did not know was that they were about to face a man who had spent 18 months preparing for exactly this moment. McCampbell rolled his Hellcat inverted and pulled into a screaming dive. Rushing followed. The 2 American planes plunged through the formation like wolves through sheep. McCampbell's .650 caliber machine guns erupted. His first target, a Zero, disintegrated in a ball of orange flame before the pilot even saw him coming. McCampbell pulled up, bleeding energy, then climbed again. The Caveman Dive, simple, primitive, devastating. The Japanese formation scattered in confusion. McCampbell did not chase. He climbed. He waited. Then he dove again. A second Zero fell from the sky, trailing black smoke. Then a third. Each attack followed the same pattern: altitude, speed, violence, retreat. The Japanese fighters tried to engage him horizontally, but McCampbell refused to play their game. Every time they turned to pursue, he was already above them, building energy for his next strike. His Hellcat shuddered with each burst of gunfire. Spent shell casings filled the cockpit floor. By 9:15 a.m., McCampbell had destroyed 5 aircraft. His ammunition was running dangerously low. A reasonable pilot would have broken off. McCampbell was not feeling reasonable. He spotted another group of Zeros and climbed once more. His 6th victim exploded so close that debris rattled against his windscreen. His 7th went down trailing fire. Then his 8th. His gun barrels were overheating. His fuel gauge was dropping toward empty. McCampbell did not care. he found his ninth target, a straggling Zero attempting to flee the chaos. One final dive, one final burst. The Zero tumbled into the sea. McCampbell checked his instruments. He had exactly 6 rounds of ammunition left. His fuel tanks held barely enough to reach the Essex. Beside him, Rushing had claimed 6 kills of his own. Together, 2 American pilots flying 2 aircraft had destroyed 15 enemy planes in under 90 minutes. The rest of the Japanese formation had scattered, their attack broken, the American fleet saved. What made this victory extraordinary was not just the numbers. It was the method. Every single kill McCampbell achieved came from the diving attack his peers had dismissed. After landing on the Essex with his fuel tanks essentially empty, McCampbell filed his combat report with characteristic understatement. He noted that the enemy aircraft had shown poor situational awareness when attacked from above. The Navy saw things differently. On January 10, 1945, President Franklin Roosevelt presented Commander David McCampbell with the Medal of Honor. His citations specifically mentioned his aggressive initiative and the destruction of 9 enemy aircraft in a single engagement. No American naval aviator has ever matched that record. The impact of McCampbell's tactics spread throughout naval aviation. By late 1944, every Hellcat squadron in the Pacific was drilling the high-altitude diving attack. The technique he had pioneered contributed to the famous Marianas Turkey Shoot, where American pilots destroyed over 300 Japanese aircraft in 2 days. McCampbell finished the war with 34 confirmed victories, making him the highest-scoring American naval ace of all time. He never lost a single wingman in combat. The men who had mocked the Caveman Dive fell silent. Those who survived adopted it. In his personal journal, McCampbell wrote that aerial combat was not about elegance. It was about geometry and violence, applied with precision. He understood something that took others years to learn. The sky does not reward style. It rewards whoever strikes first from above. Decades later, military historians studying the Battle of Light Gulf would call October 24, 1944, the greatest single pilot performance in American naval history. 1 commander, 1 Hellcat, 9 victories, and a diving technique that everyone said would never work.